Bonjour, je suis Jenni-Anne et ici le voyage d'espace, je ne sais quoi. It is the end of summer break finally, and we're picking up where we left off. We're getting ready for our trip out to Lindor, but first we've got 5 technologies left here on Tier 13 of the tech tree, and we spent all of our Joule science except for on these 5 nodes, because we still have some anomalies to find here that could fill out this tree some more. We've got one we haven't found yet on Minmus, and we've got one we haven't yet found on Kerbin. So we're going to try to find those, see if we can save some of that science. Also, it looked like Julie Kerman seems to have lost her marbles in space. On that trip out to the asteroid belt, she got a little snippy with her co-workers there, you know, when they forgot to plant the flag back on deck, you know. So she's a little upset right now, and the public isn't exactly liking her, so we're sending her out on basically the timeout rover so she can calm down, get her wits about her, and do a little bit of reconnaissance for us here on Kerbin. We've got the Lathe rover here, repurposed for that journey. We got Bon Voyage here ready to go as well. And there we go. Julie, you just go calm down, take care of this little trip for us here, and we will be seeing you in a bit. Don't worry, we'll be watching you from the skies as we do this, because helping out Julie, we're going to send up a polar satellite to do some scanning while she does her driving around. We're having trouble doing some navigation because we've got a lot of water out there. Even in this, we got solid land from here to that spot where it says probably the desert airfield, but we got this body of water in the way, and so we need to navigate around that. So we're just going to do this in piecemeal here. We'll go a few kilometers, then we'll switch, and then we'll do a few more kilometers, and we'll switch again as we navigate around those water bodies. And while she's doing that, we're going to send up this polar satellite here with a ScanSat module aboard. Yes, ScanSat does work on Kerbal Space Program 1.10. And yeah, I'm actually running Kerbal Space Program 1.10.1 here, because I'm using an experimental version of Copernicus. It seems to be working quite well, actually. It's not bad. Now, I'm a little out of practice with launching polar satellites. It's a little tougher than the 4.9 kilometers per second you need to launch for an equatorial low Kerbin orbit, because you're also fighting Kerbin's spin here, and you're also having to deal with some crosswinds here, because a 90-degree polar orbit is not exactly straight north-south according to the surface, so you got a little bit of crosswind here that Ferrum Aerospace is going to help us deal with here. But once we do get high enough, the winds become not a problem there. Ditch that ferry. There we have a rove mate on there, so we can switch back and forth using the... what are we using again? Using the Bon Voyage modules. There we go. We can't actually do any roving with this, but that's okay. We can switch to this craft quickly. And once I know we're going to actually get to space, I point it straight prograde, and we get it up to a 750 kilometer polar orbit, 750 kilometer apoapsis, while keeping inclination as close to 90 degrees as we can. And there we go. That final stage will take us the rest of the way up to high polar orbit. There we go. It says that the altitude is suboptimal, but we are going to fix that. There we go. All the way up to 750k. We're going to circularize right there. And there we go, not a problem. It did take a few tries, because it didn't load enough fuel on here at first, but you see those extra donut tanks, we do have enough fuel now. And we've got some delta V to deorbit this satellite when we no longer need it. And there we go. So while Julie's driving around, we're going to use ScanSat to pinpoint the anomalies there. The rovemate did a pretty good job, but we couldn't get quite close enough. Now, while all of that's going on, we're sending up our new guest. This is Jenni-Anne McKerman, named after Jennifer Ann McKinnon, the newest engineer astronaut from the Canadian Space Agency. Actually, her full name is Jennifer Ann McKinnon Jenny Sidney Gibbons. We're just going to call her Jenni-Anne for the duration of this series. So, this is going to be Julie's replacement. We're going to give her some flight experience by sending her up to Minmus on this here. This is going to be the mission craft for our Lindor trip. This is the Lindor 6 main, which includes another crew hab command module, and we've got a new piece of technology aboard there. That is the Talos rover. It is designed much like the rovers that we've used on the larger bodies on Joule and on Eve. The difference here is it has one larger fuel tank, and it has a lot more Delta V. We've got some extra magic on there that we'll be able to demonstrate back on Minmus. So we're sending Jenni-Anne up here to go find the remaining anomaly on Minmus, and at the same time we're going to test the Talos rover there. And that rover is going to get used on Talos, Krell, and Aiden, the 3 airless moons of Lindor. There we go, circularizing our orbit. We'll detach that lower stage once we are low. There we go. And look at that, the old boom boom is already there. There's plenty of Delta V on old Boom Boom there to take us up to Minmus and back. If we want to get really crazy, we could have just beelined for Minmus and spent a lot of Delta V at going there and back in just a few hours, but we got time to spare yet. We got several days before the other pain train comes back from Jool. So while we're doing that, we'll just use this one here, pop out to Minmus, test the Talos rover, go look for the remaining random monolith up there, and then come back nice and safe. And then Jenni-Anne here will be able to complete the refueling, and she'll be able to strut these craft up and get it ready for our main mission out to Lindor later on, when we send up Chris and Roberta Lynn Kerman in the next episode. Look at that. This craft still has Delta V for weeks, in spite of having used up a good 1/3 of those quarter-kiloton nuclear bombs. I wonder how far we could take this craft. Okay, there we go. Using our precision thrusters, we get an elliptical orbit above Minmus so that we can scan for that remaining anomaly. In the meantime, the polar sat back at Kerbin is already getting pinpoint locations of our anomalies. You see that one navigation marker I had was nowhere near this object. But ScanSat has no problem zooming right in and giving us as close a marker as we can to that object. Look at that. And that's going to help Julie a lot here. In the meantime, Julie here is navigating around that body of water, going out to the supposedly the desert airfield, or probably the desert airfield, but as we find out, it is actually not the desert airfield. It is close to there, but there's something else out there that we'll see in just a moment. Still trying to navigate over that pretty narrow-looking land bridge there. And there we go. Now, taking a look around here as we drive, you know, this Kerbin has a pretty diverse collection of flora here. We got oak trees, we've got cacti, we've got grass in the same place. I mean, okay, I've actually been to Arizona and I've seen the barrel cacti, or whatever they call these things. They're apparently a state treasured resource or something, but they're not usually half buried in the ground like this, and they're not usually next to oak trees. Anyway, we get out too close to that navigation marker, and there's an island out there with the very tip of an object. Now, it's within sight, so we can just kind of sail over there. We'll use those Juno liquid fuel jet engines to get out there. There we go. It's a comparably short trip. This rover has the same performance on the surface of Kerbin's oceans as it did on the surface of Lath's oceans. So hey, even better, because of Kerbin's thicker air, there's more intake air to process. There we go. And we find out here something I really didn't expect to find out here. Look at that. We have found the pyramids. I bet you didn't know it, but each of these objects actually has unique names, and I brought a solar panel along to show you. Here we go. Blocked by stacked bricks, and the Great Pyramid. Look at that. And a wall. Okay, the Tomb of the Lost Kerbal, my goodness, another wall, here we go, the slightly less Great Pyramid, a ziggurat thing, a priceless artifact you should not crash into, and finally the crown jewel of this, Tut-on-Jeb-an, and that's where we're going to plant our flag. Whoops. Oh, come on, Julie, calm down, eh? See, we got some anger management issues here to deal with, so there we go. Go back to the rover, get another flag. There we go. Hopefully this one doesn't explode on us. In our travels, we come across some of the scannable objects here on Kerbin. This is one of the baobab trees, one of the smaller ones. Look at that. Still not bad, you know, 18 science. Good for the early game. Not bad at all. Now, the next object is on an island way up on its own. It's a little further away at about 100 kilometers, so we are going to use Bon Voyage's aquatic mode to get out there. It consumes quite a lot of fuel, even at 20% throttle, but when we do get up there, I don't bother with recalculating fuel economy in cheat modes, but I do have to use these engines to climb these really steep hills, and look at what we got at the top of that hill. That looks like the old vehicle assembly building. My goodness, but where's the launch pad? Isn't there a launch pad out? Yeah, here it says, blocked by Vehicle Assembly Building, not VAB. Look at that, and when we go to do crew reports, oh my goodness, yep, it's that launch pad all right. The launch pad's actually somewhere else, but the building seems to be here for some reason. I basically rode the brakes all the way down this steep hill, but we do get down here. Come on, Julie, you can do this. And there we go. Almost lost that rear reaction wheel, but that's okay. We find other objects. We find one relay dish here in the lowlands, one relay dish here out in the desert. We actually find the random monolith, although we didn't get credit for finding it yet. And up in the North Pole, we do find the UFO, or UFO, or whatever. Anyway, we do mark all these objects with flags so we can clean up those navigation markers. We had quite a bit there. And there we go. With a job well done, we bring Julie back home safe. And along the way, she even picks up 151 science. Picked up some biomes that we missed much earlier in the game. Not bad, Julie, not bad at all. Now take some time off, calm down, take a break. Now while all that was going on, Jenni-Anne McKerman was on her way to Minmus. We're high enough up that we can pick up that last anomaly. Stock Minmus has 2 scannable objects. Or anomalies rather, and we're finding the second one here. The first one was already picked up by Bob Kerman really early back in this series. But we don't have a problem finding it. There we go. Get a nice, somewhat polar orbit, and then we'll be able to move on top of this thing. Now here we go. When we go to land on Talos, we'll use that service module to help with the descent, but here just on Minmus we can leave the service module in orbit. This rover has plenty of Delta V to land on Minmus, drive around on Minmus, go back up to orbit, and redock. And we'll be relying on this when we travel over to Krell and Aiden in the next few episodes. And there we go. Accounting for Minmus's rotation, the target marker is directly over that navigation marker. And there's the North Pole that Bob uncovered back then. We're not close enough to get the details, but that's okay. We don't want anything to do with the North Pole, as such, right now. Now you may notice some extra objects on those Twitch side-mounted engines there. We'll get to demonstrate a new capability of this rover when we head back up to orbit. Some very interesting peaks here that we need to avoid if we're going to land safely. Look at that. Jenni-Anne is just enjoying this view and getting all kinds of flight experience here. Okay, where's the object? Come on, where's the object? We know it's around here somewhere. Okay, you know what? Let's just drop it right now. We can use Bon Voyage to travel the rest of the way. I don't trust that little hill there. Oh, there we go. Oh, we do manage to clear it, fortunately. And come on, target marker. Target marker is right where we need it to be. Very good. Alright, this craft is capable of vertical touchdown and vertical takeoff, just like, you know what? Yeah, just like the Val one was. Yeah, that's right. Val and Tylo had vertical touchdown as well. What they didn't have, though, was vertical takeoff, which we're going to demonstrate in a bit. Come on down there, Jenni-Anne. Touchdown. So, she'll put the Talos rover through its paces, and we can even do little quick hops out to various objects. We do find the random monolith, and we unlock ultra-high energy physics. One of those 5 tech nodes that we have yet to unlock is now unlocked. We'll plant a flag up there, we'll rendezvous back up with old Boom Boom and get this thing back to low Kerbal orbit. Look at that. Minmus Roundolith. Good job there, Jenni-Anne. We'll be waiting for you back home. Now here we got vertical takeoff, but I've attached there a Cal 1000 controller and some robotic, what do they call? Whatever those things are called. You can rotate pieces attached to them. And we can turn this from a vertical takeoff to a horizontal acceleration just by changing the positioning of that controller. I'm actually learning some of the robotics here. It's been how long here and I've never used a robotics mod. Now I'm using the robotics built into the Breaking Ground DLC. And we got a really easy rendezvous up there right at the ascending node. Okay, at this point it's easy rendezvous, dock, strutting up, and then getting Jenni-Anne back home safe. This little docking port junior is not strong enough to withstand those nuclear bomb blasts, so once we're docked, Jenni-Anne's gonna EVA strut this thing up, and then we'll be able to bring everything back to orbit safely. And there we go. That is one of 2 objects that we've gotten credit for. We found both objects, but now we need to just get credit for the second one. Come on back, Jenni-Anne, we'll get you back home, and then we'll send up a refueling and a rearming craft for old Boom Boom to get it ready for the trip out to Lindor. And there we go, back safe in low Kerbal orbit. There we go, 100 by 99, good enough. We finally get credit. I go back and forth until I finally pick up Exotic Electrical Systems. And now we only have 3 nodes left. So there's old Boom Boom, and we're sending up this rearming craft here with a top-up load of nuclear bombs. You may notice that it says NPU 250 is 8400. That's because in KSP 1.10, you can specify a hard number for whatever resource you want to load up. I would have had to have brought up 10,000 bombs, but I could just type in there 8400. That saves a little bit of weight, and we're able to get this thing up into orbit without too much trouble. Although this particular ascent, perhaps I overcooked the gravity turn just a bit, but we really needed to get as much horizontal speed as we could. The service module engines on this rearming craft are very, very weak, so I needed those twin bores to get us going sideways as quickly as we could, even if it meant risking a little bit of heating effects there, like that. Look at that. Fortunately, the heating effects don't last all that long, and the remaining twin bore is able to push this thing up to orbital speed. There we go, we have a single crew command pod up there to bring Jenni-Anne back. We've got some twitch engines there for maneuvers. We've got refueling tanks, we've got that bomb bay there for rearming the craft. And we're using up some of the refueling fuel in the twin bore to make sure we can actually get up to orbit. Once we have a high enough periapsis back there, I can finally detach that and rely on the twitch engines to close our orbit. And there we go. We'll get a decent intersect over there, over intersect 2, close enough, and then we'll do some maneuvers over here. Safer to do these long burns out here instead of up close to old Boom Boom, because we don't want to collide with it. And with an approach speed of a mere 11 meters per second, we should have no problem lining up here, docking with the... Oh, here we go. We undock old Boom Boom. That is the locomotive engine for the pain train. And we'll dock it up with here, and we'll see what we can do about rearming this craft. That antenna I'm going to have to fix. It's just sticking out there through the docking port. Oh boy. Well, we do get it fixed up there, and we got our maneuvering thrusters going. There we go. We do get that antenna fixed, and now we're docked. Now let's see. Are these things even transferable? Okay, apparently you can transfer 8,400 quarter kiloton or quarter megaton nuclear bombs through a docking port, no less. Not bad at all. At the same time, we top up all of the tanks on the Lindor 6 main mission craft, on the rover here. We'll top that up here, we'll dock that back to the main pain train, and then we'll get Jenni-Anne racing for her return craft, which docks back with the rearming craft. Now that rearming craft, I've put all the fuel on the bottom there, we've got the 10-meter heat shield. We're going to try to bring this thing back in one piece, if we can. You know, while those bombs won't actually harm Kerbin, the idea of dropping basically 10 megatons, or 40 quarter megaton bombs on the surface of Kerbin does not seem very appealing, so we're going to try to bring it back in one piece. And Jenni-Anne here is in full command of this to make sure that we can still keep this thing pointing retrograde in case we lose signal. Look at that. In my first attempt at this, I did lose signal, so on my second attempt I brought Jenni-Anne along. That command pod will separate out in case there's a mishap with the rearming craft. But it turns out we were able to deal with re-entry just fine, and this thing did survive re-entry, and we didn't even lose signal. Strangely enough, I'm not sure how we managed that, but we did manage to keep this thing intact. Look at that re-entry. Come on, Jenni-Anne, you've got this. She's got the assistance of the probe cores on her craft and on the rearming craft to help steer this thing. If we lose signal, all we need is a capable Kerbal aboard to keep this thing pointing on course. Not bad at all. We are losing speed, we're not overheating, the heat shield is taking the brunt of this as it should. I made sure to point this thing above the desert so that we didn't splash this thing down. If we splashed this thing down, there was a chance the parachutes would have been cut off too early, and then the whole thing would have gone splashing down in the ocean, and we wouldn't want those 10 megatons worth of bombs on the bottom of the ocean now, do we? Here we go, Julie, getting ready to separate out that craft and launch and open the parachutes. I had the parachute set to auto-open high enough. Here they go. Look at that. And once I'm sure that it's okay, this thing's gonna touch down, I separate off the command pod and open up her own chute so she can land separate from this craft. There we go. So, separates out her own chute and she drifts away from the rearming craft. Okay. Now then, here we go. The rearming craft is slowing down to a reasonable speed there. To try to get the main craft down a little more gentle, we detach the heat shield. And hopefully that extra push separates us out away from the rearming craft, but I don't know. Looks like it's going to hit it. Oh no, it's going to collide with it. Wait a minute. Why aren't we Oh, we're over here. Well, thank goodness for that. I was a little worried there. Well, we're going to get ready to bail as soon as it touches down. We don't want this thing landing on top of her craft. Come on, Jenni-Anne, get out of there as soon as you can. Alright, bail. Run. Get out of the way. Go, run. Oh, and of course it comes right down on top of the pod. Get out of the way. Oh my. Hell. Hey, look, this thing survived. We only lost that top fuel tank there. Small price to pay for bringing this very expensive rearming craft back down safely. Come on, Jenni-Anne, get your booty back aboard there so we can bring you back. And you've got flight experience now for your upcoming trip to Lindor. And the rearming craft is recovered, mostly intact, but without any environmental threats to Kerbin. And also, we've recovered 2 of the remaining tech nodes. Not bad at all. We're gonna see if we can pick up any more anomalies on our trips. But until then, I'm not manly. Fly safe.